Before I start this video, I wish to say that I bring up some points about potentially triggering subjects, like for example pedophilia, zoophilia, self-harm, abuse, and self-unaliving. If these are triggers in any way, please click off this video. This video also contains points about religion and politics. Question 1. Can computers think or fall in love? No. A computer cannot think due to the computer not having the neural infrastructure for an independent thought. Therefore, a computer is not able to fall in love either. Quote, falling in love is defined by Cambridge Dictionary as feeling a strong romantic love for someone. As we established earlier, a computer cannot think or feel, therefore not fall in love either. Question 2. Can computers be creative? Definitionally, a computer cannot be creative due to the fact that creativity is defined as the ability to produce an original thought. A computer cannot do this due to the fact that they cannot think and get trained off of other people's original ideas. Therefore, it is merely regurgitating these ideas instead of thinking independently. Question 3. What is the meaning of life? Personally, I believe there is no objective meaning to life. Our existence is not of significance and therefore has no meaning if we don't make one ourselves. Therefore, I would answer this question as we make our own meaning to life, due to there not existing an objective meaning or goal with our existence. Question 4. Is it morally okay to torture terrorists to extract information? This question depends on the type of information being extracted. Of course, I believe that this should be permissible in certain cases, for example if a or several lives are in danger. However, if this information will not aid in the assistance of or saving of civilians, I don't believe it is morally permissible. Question 5. Why think there are universal human rights? My thought of universal human rights comes from the fact that I believe that every person has a right to their own agency and life. I do not do to others that I would not want done to me. Therefore, I respect every person as if I was them interacting with me. This, of course, has limitations if one's behavior is hurting another individual or suppressing their right to agency. So to fully answer the question, I believe that a universal human right is just a law that makes it so one cannot interfere with another person's right to agency or life. Question 6. What is wrong with zoophilia? This question has an obvious answer, however it is important one addresses it in philosophy so others really understand that answer. First off, let's see what makes sexual intercourse or sexual actions wrong. Usually it boils down to the fact that there needs to be consent, right? Using that, we can conclude that zoophilia, like pedophilia, is wrong due to the fact that there is no consent. This is because an animal cannot consent. Why? Let's go over the basics. Consent needs 4 components. It needs to be voluntary, meaning that a person has freely given without pressure, coercion, manipulation, or threat. One needs to be informed, meaning that the person possesses all necessary, clear, and relevant facts to make an educated decision. One needs to be competent, meaning that the individual has the legal and mental ability to understand the situation and make a reasoned decision. And the last necessity is that the agreement applies to a particular action rather than a blanket or ambiguous assumption of permission. So if we put it like this, we have P1, an animal cannot freely give permission to any action. P2, an animal does not possess all necessary, clear and relevant facts to make an educated decision. And P3, an animal does not have the competence and mental ability to make such a decision. The conclusion would be that an animal cannot consent. Therefore, using this line of thought, one can clearly show that zoophilia is wrong due to the lack of consent. Question 7. If you go back in time and teach young Einstein relativity theory, where does the idea come from? This is an interesting question. However, due to my unfortunate minimal education in this field, I might not be able to go too deep into the reasoning of this line of thought. However, I believe that this goes into the same territory as the question of if a computer could be creative, due to the fact that this idea you teach to young Einstein is just regurgitated from Einstein himself. Therefore, since it's still Einstein who figured this out, it is still his idea. One cannot regurgitate another individual's idea and claim it as their own, even in such a situation. However, I would love if you told me in the comments If you disagree, and if so, why? Question 8. Are humans innately good or evil? I believe that humans are neither innately good or evil due to the fact that this evil, such as for example bigotry, is learned. I do believe, however, that individuals can be born with certain traits that if acted upon are seen as evil. An example of this would be pedophilia due to the fact that this is an uncontrollable mental illness. I do, however, believe that even these people can't be seen as innately evil due to the fact that they can choose not to act upon it. Question 9. Do all people deserve respect? No, I do not believe so. I would say that all people, at first meeting them, deserve the respect you wish to be given back. However, if a person acts distasteful, bigoted, or disrespectful towards you, why should you act back with respect? I believe that one does to another as they want to be treated back. Therefore, I do not believe that you have to show everyone respect if they don't show respect to you. Question 10. Where does one's self-worth come from? I believe one's self-worth comes from the value one puts in other individuals. Our self-worth is the same as the worth we give to other individuals, due to the fact that we recognize that we are like them. One who does not see other individuals with worth grounds his morality in bigotry and is therefore immoral due to a high degree of selfishness and egoism. Question 11. Can happiness be quantified like money or power? I don't believe happiness can be quantified due to the fact that how we feel happiness is highly subjective. One cannot quantify a highly subjective feeling due to the lack of standard to measure against. One can, however, for example say, I am very happy, or I am just happy. However, that is not quantified as in money, for example, because if I say, I have $1 and I have $10, those have a standard worth, while saying I'm happy versus I'm very happy does not have a standard worth of happiness to measure against. Question 12. Is it possible to make moral judgment without religion? Yes, it is totally possible to make moral judgments without religion. One's morality does not have to be grounded in religion. I, for example, have a morality most would consider quote-unquote good, and I ground my moral judgment in concepts not deriving from theistic worldview or any religious concept. Question 13. Does every human life count equally? Yes, I do believe that every human life is counted equally. I do, however, believe that some might need to be faced with death if it would save a large amount of life, or if it stops the ruining of another person's life from, for example, rape in self-defense. Question 14. Is it wrong to kill animals? No, I do not believe it is wrong to kill animals. However, this comes with limitations. I follow the principle of not killing an animal if not in self-defense or for food. This is due to the fact that killing animals for sustenance is a natural part of our lives, and the fact that we need to eat animals to function normally. We are omnivores, meaning we are meant to eat both plants and animals. I do, however, try to go with vegan options when possible due to the fact that I realize that vegan food usually contains the nutrients needed for survival and that it is better for the environment. Question 15. Should terminally ill patients be able to choose death? I do believe that terminally ill patients should be able to choose to commit suicide. This is due to the fact that it will limit their suffering. It is also playing into the fact that it is their body to do what they please with. I would, however, say that this should come with restrictions for mentally ill patients or those unable to consent to such a decision. Question 16. What makes something a human right? I believe that something is a human right if it ensures to protect their agency and their life. Some examples would be the right to free speech, the right to love whoever you wish, the right to adequate food, and the right to clean water. I do recognize that this might be different from many legal definitions of a human right. However, I believe that it is good to question definitions and political choices. Therefore, I gave my own definition of what I would want a human right to be. Question 17. What makes you into specifically you? This is a really interesting question. What makes someone into a distinct individual are a combination of different things, which are but not limited to looks, interests, political beliefs, religious beliefs or lack thereof, preference of media, and philosophical beliefs. The only thing setting one individual apart from another is one's beliefs, looks, and interests. Other than that, we're all the same. To boil this all into one word, I would say that the thing that makes you distinct from another individual is merely your personality. This is because while someone can look like you, they cannot have your distinct and specific personality, and that is what sets you apart from another individual. Question 18. Do memories still exist if you forget them? This depends on what you mean by exist. They do not exist in a way that you can remember them, but that does not change the fact that this happened. The outcomes of a decision or an action don't change just because you forget about it. Therefore, yes, a memory still exists even if you forget about it. This is due to the fact that someone else, for example, remembers it. The consequences of that decision or action that you made still are out there in the world. Just because you forget something does not negate the fact that it did happen, and something doesn't go out of existence just because you forget about it. Question 19. If you try to fail and succeed in failing, did you actually succeed? Yes and no. Let's break this into two parts. Number 1, the action you try to fail at, distinguished as X, and the attempt you fail, distinguished as Y. While you fail at action X, the action you try and succeed to fail at is still a success. Therefore, you failed at X, but succeeded at Y. This means that while you fail at one action, the attempt to fail was still successful, meaning that you failed by the standard of the actual action, but succeeded in the standard of what you wanted to do. Therefore, I would say that the answer is both yes and no, depending on how you look at it, and from what perspective you want to look at the question from. Question 20. Are twins unique? Yes, twins are unique, due to the fact that every person is inherently different from one another. Looks don't solely determine the uniqueness of an individual. If that were the case, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson would be the same as an impersonator of his, due to the fact that they look alike. As we established earlier, the uniqueness of a person is grounded in their personality. Therefore, the answer to the question, are twins unique, is yes. Of course they are unique. Twins can even be unique in how they look, but even if they look exactly the same, they cannot be the same person due to the inherent uniqueness of the individual. Last question, question 21. Why do people fear death? This is one of my favorite questions. I would answer this by saying that the reason people fear death is because they do not understand what comes after it. It is impossible to comprehend the concept of non-existence. Asking, for example, what happens after death is like asking what happened before you were born. The answer, of course, is just that we don't know. We can't know. This is due to the fact that we are not able to comprehend our own non-existence. As a popular quote goes, people fear the unknown because humans thrive in the known. If you made it this far, thank you for watching my video and supporting me. I would really appreciate it if you would leave any feedback or criticism in the comments, so I can not only deepen my understanding in philosophy, but also improve as a content creator.